Bomberman. A series with a rich, deep history dating all the way back to the NES, where he cameoed as an enemy in Lode Runner, or rather, they reused the enemy from Lode Runner in his own game. Not the point. A series following a robot who dreams to become a living creature. Or a member of a race of entirely bomber-centric characters on its own planet that looks like its head. It's inconsistent, okay? But the point is, no matter what Bomberman game you get, you're always going to find two consistent things. Excellent puzzle design, and multiplayer! Yeah, this game has neither of those. And you know what? I think it's perfectly fine that way. Now the story is, and, stop me if you've heard this one before. An evil empire sets out to conquer the galaxy, a princess escapes with a robot with some secret plans, gets captured, gives the robot the secret plans, and now a hero has to meet up with the robot, then save the princess. Yeah, that's something a lot of people dump on this game quite a lot about, is it does sort of feel like a beat-for-beat retread of A New Hope. Just superimpose Bomberman over top of Luke Skywalker. I think it's a downgrade, but not the point. The story itself is not the greatest, nor is it terribly deep. It usually just follows the, okay, the princess is here, go here. Oh, she got moved, go follow her somewhere else. There is one or two twists and turns, though, which are really great, and there is something of a small subplot featuring this minion guy, Nitros, and his relationship to the entire Bomberman clan, planet, whatever. Although, to be fair, it doesn't actually get brought up until the end and mentioned offhandedly at the beginning, and that's about it, so not much of an actual arc either. Basically, the story's not that great, but what is great about this game is the gameplay. Now, I mentioned this in my review of Pocket Bomberman, where that game was sort of like the predecessor of this game, and it's very true. This game takes the platforming aspects of Pocket Bomberman and transitions them into 3D, and for a lot of games, transitioning into 3D is a real challenge. This game does it pretty damn well, though. The core gameplay is starting from point A and getting to point B, which in turn completes the level and allows you to move on to the next level. Now, of course, there's a little bit more to that with various obstacles and enemies in the way where you have to blow them up, but for the most part, the game does follow a very basic formula of simply just getting through the levels, fight a boss. But where this game gets kind of interesting in terms of gameplay is the bomber gear. Certain levels will have Bomberman don extra equipment, such as a jetpack, the thing from Kuru Kuru Kururin, a snowboard for reasons, and of course, submarine legs, borrowed from everyone's favorite disco ninja robot. These levels turn the standard platforming into sort of an arcadey style game with their own individual mechanics. The jetpack and submarine leg modes are more or less very similar in terms of gameplay. The only real difference between the two is that in the submarine gameplay, gravity still affects you, so you're constantly moving down at a slight angle, and you have to readjust. Whereas the jetpack is basically straight up Star Fox style rail shooting. And it works to a tremendous extent. Like, seriously, I'm surprised at how well the actual rail shooting mechanics in this game work. The snowboarding mechanics, yeah, not so much. The snowboard itself kind of handles like a walrus, and not a cool party walrus, just a sort of fat, bloated walrus that's been run over by a dump truck. But the helicopter mode actually works pretty well. Essentially, you have to bomb targets directly below you and constantly readjust for gravity, and that's about it. Unfortunately, the levels do tend to skew more towards the submarine and jetpack rather than the latter two. Granted, given how kind of awkward the snowboard is, that's totally fine. But what's a Bomberman game without bombing things? And in this game, it works pretty well. Right out of the gate, Bomberman has the ability to kick and throw bombs. Now, unlike previous Bomberman N64 games, the ability to pump bombs by holding them and making them grow super big is gone, and instead you get the rolling bomb throw, where if you hold a bomb for a certain period of time, you'll throw several bombs out in an arc in front of you. This genuinely isn't all that useful. It's pretty rare that you'll run into a series of enemies that are just in a direct line in front of you, but it is kind of okay as a defensive measure. However, there is kind of a problem with all of these mechanics, and it does sort of harken back to the main problem of Bomberman, which is your bombs are used to murder yourself a lot, and in this game, it kind of takes it up to a new level. If a bomb explodes and you throw a bomb in that general direction, the explosion will typically catch your bomb on fire, and if you do this a few times, you're basically going to create a giant wave of flame directly at you. And the time in which the flames sort of exist feel a lot longer than they should be, especially when you're capable of doing that just by having one bomb catch another, catch another, catch another. Oh god, I'm on fire. Yeah, you don't want to do that, and it happens way too often. It does feel like it would have been a little bit better if they dialed down the ability to catch bombs on fire a little bit. The platforming and level design definitely work well and complement each other greatly. You'll find tons of secret areas in each level, as well as secret levels if you explore well enough. And your explorations are usually rewarded with either secrets or, points. And points are actually genuinely important in this game, because for every power-up and jewel you collect, as well as every enemy you kill, as well as piece of environment you blow up, you gain more points. Points in turn get tallied at the end of the level, and if you get the maximum number of points, you get a high number, a 5. Whereas if you get so few, you get a 1. Once you beat the entire planet, all of your total level rankings get added up, and you get a medal. Depending on what medal you get, you unlock a bunch of different bonus things. Because that comes back to something this game really does love, which is extra stuff. Like, let's just go over some of the bonus things in this game for just a second, okay? You get a sound test. That's pretty standard, but awesome. You get Golden Bomber Mode, which takes Bomberman through 2 bomber gear levels without the bomber gear, which totally recontextualizes how you go about those levels, which is pretty great. And it ends with an exclusive level, which is pretty cool. You get a secret treasure hunt mode, which gives you the entire game to explore, hoping to find the various treasures scattered about, although that's really just reskinning a different collectible, which is kind of lame, but still kind of neat. Oh yeah, and if you're the one guy who owns the special Hudson Soft N64 controller with rapid buttons, you can unlock a secret campaign on the moon of Planet Bomber. I'm really bad at button mashing, so I couldn't get it. I don't have that controller, unfortunately. Maybe you'll have better luck than me. Yeah, this game has a boatload of secrets, and I haven't even told you the biggest one. If you collect all the hidden, secondary collectibles you don't have to get, you unlock a whole extra world. Okay, it's really small, but still, that's kinda cool. Although I will complain about these collectibles being really bloody inconsistent, because all but one are found on adventure levels, and then one quizzically is located in a bomber gear level. Just for no reason. And that's the one I kept skipping over the first time I played this. Seriously, why is that there compared to everything else? I have no idea. But yeah, this game has crazy amounts of secrets and collectibles. The level designs are varied, and each level seems to have an interconnecting story with one another. Like on one level you're flooding this corridor, the second level you're in the flooded corridor in your bomber gear trying to escape. Or this one where you're fighting this giant 2-headed creature, next level suddenly its heads are chasing after you. This game does level design really damn well, especially given the fact that it's trying to take what is essentially a 2D puzzle game, shift it into a 2D platformer, and then shift it into a 3D platformer. I gotta admit, I'm genuinely impressed with the variance of the levels, as well as the overall quality of this game and sheer amount of content. There's just ridiculous numbers of levels and things to do in this game if you want to try and get 100%. In short, the gameplay here is well done, and it's totally worth the price of admission. Now, the overall presentation to Bomberman Hero it's good. There's a varied number of enemy types, which are usually unique to a planet, as well as these floating guys, which just make me smile. There's 6 different planets that each have their own climate, as well as different regions of each planet that have their own climate. So really, it feels like there's just a ton of different areas that all have their own unique sort of feel and personality to them. That is fantastic. Audibly, well, it's quite similar to its visual style. It's really, really good. The sound effects are pretty solid, and I have to give real credit to the bomb sound effects, because as you get fire-ups for your bombs, they make more and more noise, and when you finally get that fire-up, it is just the most magical sound ever. It's just like... and it's like, yeah! I'm the big bad bombing guy! Face me! It's kind of wonderful. And the soundtrack is just tremendous. There's at least a good couple dozen songs on the soundtrack, and they're pretty varied. You get stuff like sort of techno to light pop nonsense. There's a remix of the classic Bomberman theme, which of course you need to have. And there's something I can only describe as ancient Egyptian smooth jazz. Genuinely, this is a kick-ass soundtrack. It's missing some death metal, but other than that, it's pretty much got everything else. Now, if you want a copy of Bomberman Hero, the second of 4 Bomberman games on the N64. Well, it's actually pretty inexpensive. You can get it for less than $15. And you should definitely grab it at that price because it's damn good and has ridiculous amounts of content. But I think there is a reason why it costs as low as it does. I mean, first of all, it's nowhere near as rare as Bomberman's Second Attack on the N64, but also, this game is just not wanted by anyone. And I think the reason is, this game is sort of like Mega Man 8 or like New Coke. It's something that people fixate so much on what it isn't than what it is. People focus so much on the fact that it's a Bomberman game, but it has no multiplayer, it's not even puzzle-based, and, you know, it's not trying to be. It's trying to be a fun 3D platformer, and it does it excellently. And I think that's really the biggest shame about this game. It's a genuinely good game that just no one wants, simply because it's not like anything else that people associate the series with. I mean, if this was just generico McBlandsworth's platforming adventure, I'm sure it would have sold even better. But the fact that it has the Bomberman title means that no one wants it, simply because it has no multiplayer. I mean, on the bright side, it means that it's an easy to get a hold of game at dirt cheap prices, and as someone who doesn't care about multiplayer, it's fantastic for me, but this game deserves better than that.